They said the monk came in peace. They said he smiled kindly and walked with grace. But by the time the truth came out, 5 women were already dead, and he had drunk their blood. In the shadows of 18th century Chosangyang, among the winding roads of small villages and the silence of thatched roof homes, there lived a man known only as Chidori, a Buddhist monk, or so he claimed. No one knew where he came from. No one knew his true name. All they knew was that wherever he stayed, the village women began to vanish. This is not a ghost story. This is a true crime tale buried in the forgotten scrolls of Chosun-era justice. And it begins in a quiet village on the edge of the woods. In the spring of 1728, the village of Gumcheon, just outside of Hanyang, was preparing for a local harvest festival. It was a modest settlement, perhaps 30 homes, a shrine, a tea house, and a single market lane. The people lived simply. They were farmers, potters, traders, and for a time, they lived in peace. But that peace shattered when the body of a young woman, barely 20, was found in the woods. Her name was Baek So-lee. She had gone missing the night before. She was found lying face up, her humbook torn, her mouth open as if mid-scream. But what terrified the villagers most wasn't just the death, it was the condition of the corpse. Her neck had 2 puncture marks, as though pierced by something thin and sharp, and her body had been drained of blood. Whispers spread like fire. Some said it was a tiger, others a mountain spirit angry at the village. But the whispers soon turned to fear, and then suspicion. Just a few weeks before the death, a stranger had arrived at the temple on the hill. He was tall, cloaked in rough monk's robes with a face too smooth for a man who lived in the forest. He introduced himself simply as Chidori. He spoke little, he meditated daily, and the local women often said he had a calm, comforting presence. But one boy, 10-year-old Jinbok, told a different story. He was always awake at night, he said. I saw him walking in the fields under the moon with blood on his hands. No one believed the child. Not until the second body turned up. Kim Ae-ran, a widow, was found in the riverbed behind the temple. Same puncture marks, same drained body, and once again, no blood. That's when fear turned to hysteria. Villagers stormed the temple, but Chidori was gone. For weeks, Chidori vanished. The village elders sent word to the capital. The Uigeumbu, Chosun's secret royal investigators, dispatched a small unit. They scoured local temples, forests, and hermitages. One night, in a cave near the base of Mount Nam, they found him. He was meditating, eyes closed, blood dried on his sleeves. When the officers seized him, he offered no resistance. He simply smiled and said, I was waiting. He was taken to the magistrate's court in Hanyang. There, under the authority of the state, the interrogation began. At first, Chidori said nothing. 3 days passed, then 4. The officers resorted to water torture, pouring cold water over his bound body in the dead of night. Still, silence. On the 5th night, a senior interrogator brought in a bowl of ox blood and placed it before him. Is this what you wanted? Drink. Chidori looked up, and for the first time, he laughed. Then he spoke. You don't understand. They weren't women to me. They were vessels. They carried what I needed. He went on to describe his visions, dreams filled with fire and shadows. He claimed a spirit, Sengi, had visited him in the mountains. That the spirit demanded he consume blood to remain enlightened. That each victim was chosen by the spirit for sacrifice. The interrogators were stunned. Some thought him mad. Others thought him possessed. But the confession was detailed. Names, locations, even dates all matched the missing women. He ended with one final statement. I didn't kill them. The mountain did. Despite his claims of spiritual delusion, the magistrate convened a full trial. Chidori was charged with 5 counts of murder and 1 count of desecration of the dead. The courtroom overflowed with commoners. Women clutched rosaries, some wept. When asked if he had remorse, Chidori said, "You feed on animals. I feed on spirit. There is no difference." He was sentenced to death by beheading at dawn. The morning of Chidori's execution was cold. Mist clung to the streets of Hanyang like a shroud. At the city's north gate, a wooden scaffold had been built. Hundreds gathered. Chidori was brought out in chains. His robe was torn, his head was shaved clean. Yet still, he smiled. As the royal officer read his sentence aloud, Chidori looked into the crowd and spoke one last time. I have seen what lies beyond the mist, and it is more beautiful than this. His head fell with a single stroke of the executioner's blade. No blood rituals, no spirits, just silence. The crowd dispersed. The case was closed. But fear lingered. Some say the crops near the mountain died that year. Some say the temple was abandoned forever. And some whisper that the spirit, Sengi, found another host. The records of the Chidori case still exist buried in the court logs of the Chosun Uigeumbu. To this day, historians debate what truly happened. Was Chidori a madman? A killer driven by delusions and isolation? Or was he something darker, something the court never fully understood? In a society bound by ritual and hierarchy, he stood apart, not as a man of faith, but as a mirror, reflecting the fears Chosun dared not name. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing control, fear of the monster within. One thing is certain, the name Chidori still haunts the scrolls, and somewhere in the quiet forests of Chosun, his story waits to be told again.